Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you very much for being here. The Sheriff's Office and the U.S. Marshal Service have been working for 31 days on this 24/7. And many people wonder if we're getting closer to a resolution, and I assure them we are. We do not have Bassler in custody, and the purpose of today's press release is to give you more information that could assist us, as well as to answer those questions which we can answer. There may be technical questions regarding the investigation, which of course you can understand that we're not at liberty to discuss. I want to start by thanking the agencies who have come to the aid of the Sheriff's Office during this. In our history checking, it's the largest search of any individual in the history of the Sheriff's Office. It's certainly the most direct and most encompassing. So I just want to pay appreciation to the following agencies. The U.S. Marshal Service, of course, have been our right-hand partner from the beginning, and we're very appreciative. To my right is U.S. Marshal Don O'Keefe from the Northern District. And Marshal, thank you very much. The personnel that you've sent up to us has not only saved the Sheriff's Office literally hundreds of thousands of dollars, but it's provided information to us, which is allowing us to continue our investigation and hopefully get towards a safe resolution. So thank you very much. There's three individuals who have decided that they are not going to go home during this investigation. And to my left, Captain Kurt Smallcombe, who I'd imagine most press people know. He has dedicated himself to getting a safe resolution. It's very important we get a safe resolution to this. And so, Captain Smallcombe, thank you very much. And we have Supervising Agent from the Marshal Service, Mike McLeod. Mike, I think you took 2 days off in the last 31 days, and we certainly appreciate your efforts. And then U.S. Marshal Brad Gill, who's not in the room. He's working, okay, but he's our closest marshal. And these three individuals have led this campaign of trying to get to safe resolution. The Sheriff's Office has been assisted by the District Attorney's Office, the three local police departments, Fort Bragg, Willits, and Ukiah Police Departments, CAL FIRE, the Highway Patrol, Fish and Game, Sonoma Sheriff's Office, Lake Sheriff's Office, Humboldt Sheriff's Office, Marin County Sheriff's Office, Alameda County Sheriff's Office, Riverside Sheriff's Office, the FBI, our local welfare fraud investigation, Fort Bragg Fire Department, both federal and state, Department of Justice, the National Guard, Placerville County Sheriff's Office, as well as Placerville Police Department. Marietta Police Department in Riverside County has sent canines to our assistance. State Parks and Civil Air Patrol are some of the agencies that have gone out to absolutely give us the support we need. Our elected officials, from Congressman Mike Thompson to Assemblyman Wes Chesbro and State Senator Noreen Evans, have all three pledged their support in our effort to bring this to a safe resolution. This last 31 days has presented a lot of evidence to us, a lot of information, and I want to first clear the air about the first homicide, the one from August 11th. We do have confirming DNA evidence which places Bassler at the crime scene of Matt Coleman's homicide. And we appreciate the fast work that the State Department of Justice helped us with to confirm this. Many people had speculation this was the case, but I am very appreciative of the law enforcement agencies staying steadfast of not making any public statement until we had the confirming DNA. And it is confirming DNA of this, and we're going to continue with the investigation of both homicides. This is still a crime scene. We have two crime scenes. We have a large forest. And so when we get to information which are technical, I may be prevented from answering your questions if it still involves the collection of evidence from a crime scene. We have every reason to believe he's still in the original area that the second homicide occurred on the west end. It's approximately 20 miles by 20 miles, which is a 400 square mile area. Mr. Bassler has lived in this area for close to 30 years. We are in his territory. He knows the trails, he knows the bushes, he knows the hiding spots. And many people in the community have questioned why it's taking so long to go after Mr. Bassler. And we'll provide you with a photograph just real shortly that will clearly in your mind state why we're being so cautious in our apprehension of Mr. Bassler. The Matt Coleman and Jerry Mello reward fund at $30,000 is still on the table, but it's very important that people understand we're asking for information, not participation. We have at this point, just for today, for example, over 40 law enforcement officers in the woods, and I think it's clear that we would all agree that the last thing we need is a person with a rifle who's getting in the woods trying to collect a bounty, and this bounty is not being provided for any kind of deadly engagement with Mr. Bassler. We are looking for the safe apprehension of Mr. Bassler, and to the critics who wonder why we're being so cautious, I would ask to have the photograph released. You're all going to get a copy of. Going to get a copy of a concealed camera, which was unstaffed. It was an automatic camera, which was taken in the last 2 weeks, which has Bassler. You can clearly see his right hand is maintaining an assault rifle, and his left hand, he is committing a burglary when this picture was taken. And we have many burglaries that have occurred in the area since the second homicide, and we, without getting into specific what the MO was for the other homicides, we believe that he is responsible for these. The picture can be found until 10 o'clock tomorrow morning on our website, and at 10 o'clock it's going to be taken down. But for those of you on the phone, if you go to MendocinoSheriff.com/Bassler, BASSLER / you should be able to see the photograph that we just disseminated. We're working with both families. We're keeping them apprised of whatever information we can. It's very important to us that we understand that homicides include victims' families, and the victims' families are very important to the sheriff's office and the other people involved in the investigation. It's very important that let me reiterate that Mr. Bassler has lived in his woods for 30 years. We're sending U.S. Marshals, we're sending out-of-county SWAT members into an area where they've never been in their entire life. The orientation involved is at least 24 to 48 hours, and then we're hoping to have them go out and maintain their tactics, which we're not going to specifically get into. We know from the photograph that, of course, it's a large caliber rifle. We also believe on Bassler's right hip is, in several other photographs we have, it shows an outline of a firearm. We believe that he's packing a sidearm during this. We can see that he's healthy. We can see that we do not think there's bite damage from when the dog had contact with him 2.5 weeks ago. We are continuing to accept information from the public with or without the intent of them collecting the reward, but at report@MendocinoSheriff.com, along with the command post phone number, the 707-961-2479 phone number. As Captain Smallcombe has reiterated to the many press agencies throughout this entire ordeal, it's a citizen's responsibility to maintain vigilance and be aware of your surroundings. Many citizens have called us to ask us if it's safe in a certain area or it's not safe in a certain area. We certainly are not going to say it's not safe, but on the other hand, there are many other areas of Mendocino County which are beautiful and great to recreate in. We have every reason to believe that he's within the 400 square miles that we've originally thought he was there. So with that, I'd like to introduce once again U.S. Marshal Don O'Keefe.
Good afternoon. I just wanted to go over just a little bit about the Marshal Service participation in this operation. On or about September 3rd, Sheriff Allman had requested assistance from the United States Marshal Service for a fugitive. They had obviously a murder suspect, turned out to be double murder suspect. Within a week, realized that this was going to be a much more intense investigation due to the terrain, the environment. So on September 9th, the first group of our Special Operations Group arrived from Camp Beauregard, Louisiana. Now this is a very well-equipped, well-trained tactical unit that responds for national emergencies, high-threat trials, any type of high-threat situations, and also, of course, in this situation with tracking fugitives. We have had a total between district personnel, part of our Pacific Southwest Regional Fugitive Task Force, and of course our Special Operations Group, about 30 Deputy U.S. Marshals on the ground that have been assisting the Sheriff throughout this operation. We will continue to assist the Mendocino County Sheriff's Office in any way we can throughout this this investigation and this fugitive track. I mean, the U.S. Marshal Service has been doing fugitive investigations since the 1700s, 1789 to be exact. So we have a lot of experience in the area. We work very well with Mendocino County and the other agencies, and we'll do what we can to support to, as the sheriff says, bring a safe resolution to this situation, but knowing that, as long as Mr. Bassler's out there, there's a threat to public safety. So with that, thank you very much.
So please don't be offended if we can't answer your technical questions, but if there's a question you have we can answer, we'd be happy to. Sure.
Hi, Kathy from the Press Democrat. Where was this photo taken and how was it captured?
It was taken on an unstaffed, unmanned camera, a covert camera that our SWAT team members had covertly installed. And we will not get into the specificity of it, but we will say that there's many vacation cabins in the area that have been broken into in similar ways that this was broken into.
How many cameras are like this out there?
That's a fair question. Over 40. Dave.
Has Bassler fired at law enforcement at any point?
We're not aware of any opposition that Bassler has conducted, and it's very important. We do not believe that Bassler is hunting any individuals. We believe that he's trying to stay away from society. There's many communities that are afraid that he's going to come into their area and commit another homicide. That doesn't appear to be the MO of Bassler. He appears to be wanting to be left alone and reside in his 400 square mile home if you can. Yes, sir?
Yes. Do you think then he's really defending what he considers to be his territory, and he sees anyone going in there as a threat to his safety, given his state of mind and his medical?
That's a fair question. I'm not a psychologist, but I can say that both of the homicides occurred with the individuals walking into an area where he already was. So whether it was defending his territory, I think that might be the best thought process, but I'm not a psychologist, so
Thank you.
yes.
How aware does the sheriff's office feel Bassler is of your investigation? Because he's pretty secluded out there, so do you feel like he's getting any sort of information from outside sources? Or?
We have no indication of that. We are working with ways to possibly leave communication with him that offers him a method of a safe surrender. So if there is contact, he's certainly going to be advised of how to safely surrender himself, notify law enforcement, and in this costly and mind-boggling situation. The victims' families are very important, and the reason we're staying in touch with the victims' families is because every day they want to know what's going on. But I want to appreciate the families on this, of both Matt Coleman's family and Jerry Mello's family. They've both gone out of their way to say they do not want any law enforcement officer injured, killed. We seem to be something that they're very appreciative of, and we greatly appreciate what their statements have been. So,
Does he have a cell phone? Does he have a portable radio? Does he have anything which gives him some information what all of you are doing?
we're not aware of any communication means, either one-way or two-way, that Bassler has.
All right.
What kind of gun is he carrying in the photo?
From the angle of the photo, there's been many thoughts on that. I'm not going to say one way or the other of what it is. We can assume that it's a high caliber assault rifle with a large ammunition feed. It possibly could or could not be the murder weapon from the second homicide. We don't know about the first yet. There's many unknowns on this one.
How many cabins has he broken into that you're aware of now?
Casey, that's a tough one because we had numerous burglaries before the incidents and numerous burglaries after. Since the investigation started, it's certainly numerous, and that's not a high numerous. So I would say in the area of 3 to 6 since the investigation began that we know of.
Can you be more specific on where your search is going right now?
How about where our search is not, okay? Our search is not in Brook Trails. Our search is not in Utah. Our search is not on the south side of Highway 20. But our search is in other areas where there's either been evidence that he's been there or potential sightings. The sheriff's office takes very seriously the approximately 100 people who have not been able to go to work in the woods because of this incident. We have not told people they can't go to work. I think their bosses and the landowners have made the determination whether they're a truck driver, a tree faller, or a woodworker. And that's obviously something that weighs on us also, of not only bringing safe resolution, but being able to get people back to work. But at this point, the decision to send people back in the woods will be made up by the landowner or the boss of the logging outfit. We are not telling people yes or no. Joe?
Is aerial surveillance continuous?
We continue to use aerial surveillance on days that are not foggy and when it's appropriate. I think that the terrain has taught us that not all aerial surveillance is as progressive or productive as we were hoping.
Do you often find signs of him as you're searching?
We have seen indications that lead us to believe that he's been at certain locations, and I'm not going to get into the specifics of that, but he does have some unique signatures, if you will, of where he's been.
Some of these remote cabins have ATVs, motorcycles. Do you work with DMV or anybody, any other law enforcement agency that could cross-check with these owners and make sure that all those vehicles are still there? Because those logging roads, he could get up to Oregon pretty quick if he knew his way.
I appreciate the thought, and we'll work on that. We do know that at least one of the burglaries, 2 more weapons were stolen, and that we're obviously very concerned about that. And we have no additional photographs to show them with the additional weapons. However, that's not a bad thought. I'm glad you came to the press conference. Thank you.
Ammo with the weapons?
I'm sorry, Dave.
Ammo, I'm sorry.
Dave.
Sir, what was the most recent sighting, and on what evidence are you basing the assumption that he's still in the area?
Within the last 2 weeks was the official sighting. However, there have been citizens who have reported sightings much more recently, but those can either be confirmed or denied of who it was. As far as ammunition, I'll say this, that in the search for Bassler, our search teams have found what we believe are caches of his hiding spots, and at least one hiding spot, we did find ammunition.
What about fires? Does he light any fires to cook food or anything?
We think so. I can't confirm that. The answer is neither yes or nor no, because we don't know if the fires that we have found have been his.
Do you know when this picture snapped?
The best we're going to say on that, Casey, is within the last 2 weeks.
Is there still a search effort going on around Aaron Bassler's mom's residence?
No area of the original search has been left by law enforcement. We're continuing the vigilance on all 4 of the north, south, east, and west sides of this area. So yes, on the western side, of course, it is.
How did he slip away last time? What happened?
Many people have asked that question. I appreciate it. And there are areas of this forest which are so dense in brush and trees that, number one, the aerial photographs or the FLIR, the infrared, can't get through. That should indicate how thick it is. But also the visibility is within 5 feet, you lose track of it. And chasing an armed man who has an assault rifle is not something that I'm going to ask any of our employees or anybody assisting with a search to do. He has the knowledge of how to use a firearm, and the best tool we have in that situation is with our dogs. And since a dog incident happened, we've increased the presence of dogs throughout the entire search. So not just police dogs of the attack dogs, but also of the bloodhounds that we're utilizing. And we're very appreciative of Riverside County Sheriff's Office and Murrieta Police Department for bringing us bloodhounds. And let me explain the situation of bloodhounds. Bloodhounds most likely or commonly are used by by volunteers, by search and rescue volunteers who are unarmed. We're not going to ask any unarmed search and rescue volunteer to take his or her bloodhound into this area. So it took a while to find peace officers with bloodhounds that were willing to come into this area and help us, and we're very appreciative. I can say that there have been situations that bloodhounds have reacted to a scent and have built our hopes up greatly, but they were unsuccessful in the end. And I think some of the reason may be that Bassler has been out there for so long, for 30 years, that his scent really is in a lot of places. But the bloodhounds are continuing to give us what we think is the best source of information each day.
He's lived in the woods for 30 years.
In discussing with the family, we believe that he has traversed through these woods for at least 30 years. He's 35 years old, and some people are saying, did he start when he was 6? And the answer is yes. He is in the woods. He's knowledgeable. I would imagine that he would be the most knowledgeable person with trails, roads, streams in that 400 square mile area. Dave?
Even with a very advanced knowledge of the terrain, it seems shocking that he managed to evade capture for this long.
Yes, it does.
Does he, to your knowledge, have any kind of military background or more significant training? Is he just sort of a Boy Scout from hell, or what is it?
We're not aware of any specific training Bassler has, other than we are aware that through interviews of friends and relatives that he has been known to go out in the woods for months at a time and survive. So he can surely feel comfortable. You know, even in the slight rain we had last night, we don't think is going to be something that's going to make him uncomfortable.
Are any of his family members assisting in the search in any way?
His family members have been very cooperative with law enforcement as far as assisting with the search. They're not out there assisting us with the search, but as far as the relationship that Captain Smallcombe and the Marshal Service has with the family, it's very good and it's very credible. We believe the family, and we believe the family wants him to be safely apprehended as much as we do. And their motivation for giving us information, I believe, is to make sure that we can safely apprehend him.
What about rainy season? Have you given any thoughts to that yet?
Certainly we have. And we listen to your weather forecast every morning, Joe. We know that around the middle of October is normal for it to start raining here. With rainy season upon us, let me clearly say this. I do not see an end in sight for the search of Bassler until we get to a resolution.
Tom, there are a lot of uninhabited structures around town, peripheral areas, Airport Road, for example, up towards Bald Mountain, some other areas where he may have been spotted. Are you doing a structure by structure, or do you have any kind of a plan? Take a look and see some of these places, basements, cubby holes, somewhere where he might have gotten out of the forest and have a place, sort of a dry place. Have you done any research on?
Well, we have, and let me tell you, without specifically talking about our tactics, let me tell you that we do have members of the Sheriff's Office and SWAT team members who are responding to citizen reports of possible break-ins or possible sightings where he is on the outskirts. And we're using this roving team, if you will, to investigate those. But I would encourage people, if they have any indication of somebody breaking into a cabin, to contact the command post so we can go out and search. There's things that we're looking for specifically at one of his crime scenes.
Is there anything you can tell us about what this building is that he was?
Well, this is a cabin. This is a vacation cabin that has been broken in before. And that's what it is. It's just a very remote, isolated cabin.
I'm just wondering, like, he's holding all these papers.
No, he's not holding the papers. The papers are attached to the wall.
Okay.
When you say it's been broken in before, you don't mean by him, it's just one of those cabins that gets broken in.
We don't know the answer to that.
The weapons that he stole? Do you know what kind of weapons they are?
We do. We know that a shotgun was stolen and a .22 rifle?
Yes.
Rifle.
Did he get the ammunition to go with those?
We do not know, the landowner didn't know at that point if there was ammunition there.
What is it that's hanging out of, or on the back of his pants?
We think his pants are ripped. It appears as if the jacket he's wearing here, if it is a jacket, is similar to the jacket that was spotted by the Humboldt County deputy on the initial sighting several weeks ago. I can't say that factually, it's just, it appears. This is a black and white photograph, obviously. Yes, sir, Dave?
The rifle that he's carrying, is there any reason to believe that it might be a fully automatic, or is it a semi-automatic that's taking the rifle?
We don't have reason to believe it's fully automatic. I know that people have heard fully automatic weapon fire in the forest. We are not calling this an automatic weapon. It's, at this point, we believe this is a semi-automatic.
People are wondering what he looks like now, on the type of the photos we have up there, we have this. It looks as though his hair is growing out, I can't tell if there's any facial hair at this point. Is there any way you can come up with a composite look of what he would be 30 days, 60 days out in the rough like?
That's a really fair question. So I would imagine we have the people to help us on that one. We haven't done that yet, but that's the second good thing. Thank you.
Well, it looks like his hair is really short, so it seems like he's trimming it, maybe.
Seems like he would just shave it rather than just do a nice trim.
Well, the photograph here is actually a newer, or it's a very recent photograph with hair. So this is from March, February. Okay.
And the fact that he dyes his hair.
Well, he has dyed his hair before. We don't know if he would have the materials or anybody helping him dye his hair. And we've had many people look at him and tell us that they believe he could be dressing as a female. All these are taken into consideration when we're given our daily briefings. Wait, hold on 1 second, Joe.
Do you have any reason to believe that he's actually coming back in to the towns around people?
We have no indication to believe that he's returned to Fort Bragg. None. Joe?
Are there, despite all this, are there still like individuals, perhaps hunters out there just hunting every day?
We haven't encountered that many. We think that the people are being responsible by staying out of the area.
Okay.
Anything else?
I wonder if we could ask Agent O'Keefe.
Sure.
What is different or special or unique about this in your experience?
Well, I think what's kind of unique about this is the time period that this has gone over a month now, or pretty close to a month. I think the terrain, the environment in which we're hunting, they're tracking this individual. It's not like an urban area. So I think I would say the terrain, the environment, and the length of time.
Let me just answer by that what another Deputy U.S. Marshal said was a difference. He said it's usually common when someone commits a crime that they escape to the forest. In this situation, he lived in the forest, he came to urban areas, committed a crime, and he retreated to his home area. So I think that's a very significant difference between this and, say, Eric Rudolph in North Carolina.
Another question. Just why is the skunk train still running? Is there fear that someone could get hurt?
Of course, the skunk train, I'm sure that some people are fearful, but let me talk about the skunk train. And Robert Panoli, who owns the skunk train, has worked with the sheriff's office in ways that we would not even ask any other business owner to work with us because of the money he's lost because of the situation. He closed down during Labor Day and lost thousands of dollars, tens of thousands of dollars. In response to his commitment of working with the sheriff's office, we have worked with him to make sure that we have security assigned to the skunk train as it goes about its daily business. It is a private enterprise, and if Mr. Padoli wants to shut it down, then we would understand. However, he has bills to pay, and he has a business to run with employees and everything else. So we're maintaining a vigilant presence on the skunk train during all of its operations.
Sheriff, what do you estimate, not just your person, your department's cost, but the total cost?
That's a tough one. We've had air flights and so forth, and we don't know the answer. That's why I can speak for the sheriff's office and say we're in upwards of $200,000. So I think that when this is all over, we'll be able to tally those things up. But honestly, I don't have the staffing even at my office to give me an exact accounting of what it is so far because of the cutbacks, as we're all aware of. So we're not trying to withhold any information. However, we're trying to get it as quick as possible. There's just so many other costs. And let me give you some of the examples. When we have 45 people in the mutual aid system in California requires that when there's mutual aid requested, the requesting agency be responsible for lodging, food, and fuel. And so while I'm very appreciative of the SWAT teams that are coming in, I know what my obligation is to make sure that we have a hotel and we can feed them and pay their fuel. So that's where the $200,000 comes from. But let me go and talk about the Lodging Association of the Coastal Lodging Association, who've stepped up to donate dozens and dozens of rooms so far. We have restaurants who have donated meals. We have timber companies that have spent a lot of money. Matter of fact, there's a barbecue this evening for the people who are going to be coming in off shift that timber companies are providing for our deputies. So the logistics of the coffee, the sodas, the energy bars, there's a lot of donations. Harvest Market has stepped up to donate thousands of dollars worth of product to this investigation. And I think it just speaks clearly of the good things about living in a small town. Fort Bragg has come together in ways that we never would have expected.
Do any of the agencies have fears that you won't be able to apprehend Bassler?
That hasn't been discussed. No one's talking about what happens if we don't. You know, there's a childhood game of it's cold, you're warmer, you're red hot. And I believe that each day we're getting warmer. We have reason to believe. We have tangible reason to believe each day that we're getting closer. And so when it happens, it's going to happen quick. And I assure you that when it happens, immediate press releases will be sent out. But no one is saying what happens if we don't find him. We're all saying, how can we improve our technique so we can find Davis first.
Walk me through the mechanics of how this is paid for. What fund do your operational expenses come out of? And if you reach your limit, where's emergency fund?
Well, I'm working with Assemblyman Chesbro on that, possible for some kind of assistance from the state. But as for now, we're paying for it with asset seizure. It's something that is going to dry up our kitty, there's no question. But let me ask just an out loud question of what else is there to do? And the option is not to walk away. We can't walk away from this and say we'll catch them later. If we have a significant portion of our landscape which is being endangered by a very dangerous man with the ability to do further homicides, we will continue what our responsibility is. And let me talk about the Fort Bragg City Council, and Mayor Dave Turner is here. Fort Bragg City Council and the Mendocino County Board of Supervisors have both said they're in very much support. They're in support of this entire operation, and Mr. Mayor, thank you very much. Thanks for being there and understanding that it takes time, and I can understand the patience is wearing thin when you have a peer that's been brutally murdered, but I want you to know that your police chief and your city manager is being briefed with as much information as possible so they understand why we are where we are. But thank you for being here.
The community appreciates so much what you're doing. We know what a long slog this is, and we're glad you're getting warmer.
If there's one reason for this press conference other than your photograph that you have, is to ask his acquaintances and his relatives, please, if you have information of where he is, please contact us and we can work with you for the safe apprehension. We want this to end without a gunshot. We want this to end peacefully.
Have the overall tactics been any different, given the assumption that this is, generally speaking, a mentally ill man as opposed to someone who does not have that history?
No, the tactics are very clear. The tactics are to safely apprehend a man in the woods with a rifle. And if you don't mind me using an analogy that a local logger said to me. His analogy was, he said, so Tom, what you're saying is, in 400 square miles, you're not trying to find a rabbit, you're trying to find the rabbit, and the rabbit has an assault rifle. I said, yes, that's what we're trying to do. Anything else? Okay, I appreciate the press understanding that we want to release information to everyone at the same time and not pick and choose who gets the information. And Captain Smolkin has been very consistent on that with our information, our press releases. Please don't try to think that you can get the scoop on somebody else, because we're not going to let it happen. We want the public to get informed as quick as possible, and that's what our key information is. I can tell you that when the apprehension is made, the first phone call most likely, other than to myself and to the victims' families, is going to be to KOZT. Because KOZT leadership has a listenership on the coast that gets out immediately, and then to KZYX to get it countywide. But we want the information out as fast as possible so people can breathe a little easier that our county is going to be safer. So thank you very much for attending. Any other questions? Don't ask the secret question one-on-one when it's all over. All right, thank you all very much.